Okay, someone had to do a video reaction to Zev Brenner, the interview of the divorce rabbi Yaacov Barber. I'll go back to the beginning.
Here's your host.
And we're back. We're looking at, unfortunately, a situation which is more and more people are experiencing in their lives. People who are getting divorced, or people who are contemplating divorce, people becoming agunot.
People who are becoming agunot. What happened? Not a lot of people become agunot. To become an aguna, and he will repeat this error a lot of time during this interview, and he does it all the time because he goes after the agenda, the narrative, and he doesn't go after halacha. Halachic aguna is a woman who doesn't know what happened to her husband. Is he alive? Is he dead? Where is he? She doesn't know. This is naguna, a woman who wants a divorce. He wants a get and doesn't receive a get, but knows very well that her husband is well and alive. And even if he doesn't want to give the get, she is not an aguna. She's a woman who wants a get.
Our guest is originally from Australia. He's Rabbi Yaacov Barber. He's a rabbi, a Dayan, a Toen, a mediator, motivational speaker. And when he was a pulpit rabbi in Australia, he was a Dayan of the Melbourne Bezdin and presided over 600 divorces.
600 divorces. Remember that.
Now he lives in New York. He continues his role as Dayan, as well as acting as a Toen Jewish lawyer, mediator of divorces. With experience, he hopes to empower and inform the community in all areas of Jewish divorce, and he wants women to know how to get divorced and not become an aguna.
He wants to empower the community in all areas of divorce. What does it mean? He should want to make the halacha known and the community respect the halacha. What does it mean to empower and to help women not to become agunot? He hasn't the power to do that. If God wants to make a husband disappear in unknown circumstances, what can he do about it? Nothing. So nobody has no power whatsoever to help women not to become agunot.
Rabbi Barber, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Good to Vach. It was wonderful to be here. With that introduction reminds me, it's something that my father of blessed memory would appreciate. My mother, she should be well, would actually believe.
Mix us for us, but for fun. Only a partial amount.
Thank you.
But we're seeing a problem with divorces. We're seeing such bitter divorces and fighting, and when people men don't want to give a divorce, women are going out, and there you see the demonstrations.
No, when men don't want to give the divorce, the woman is not an aguna. She's a woman who wants a divorce and doesn't receive it. That's not the definition of an aguna. That's the definition of a woman who wants a divorce. And there are many cases in halacha regarding women who want divorce. There are a lot of cases, and the Dayanim have to ask many questions and hear many things before they know in which case of halacha to put this man and this woman.
What is going on? 600 divorces, a lot of divorces, and I heard certain places like Lakewood, you can have a tremendous amount each month. I've heard staggering numbers. What's happening to us, first of all?
Let's pretend we don't know what's happening to us because we don't want to tell the truth.
Just on when you speak about bitter divorces, I always say to people when my role as a Dayan or even as a Toen, I say, when you come to get divorced, you need to imagine that you're not Jewish.
Have you heard such a thing? You need to imagine that you're not Jewish. How many times in the Torah is it said, "Bechukoteihem lo telechu"? Don't go after the laws of the non-Jews. Don't go after their laws. It's written 3 times, I think, in the Torah. Don't go after the laws of the non-Jews. And he is telling you, look after the laws of the non-Jews. Act as if you're not a Jew. What? That's craziness. It's crazy to hear something like that from a Dayan.
And they look at me and say, what do you mean? not Jewish. So I would say to them, we don't have a monopoly on divorce in the Jewish world, and definitely not on bitter divorce. Non-Jews also get divorced, and non-Jews also have bitter divorces. The only difference is when a non-Jew gets divorced, they cannot use a get as a bargaining chip. I don't believe that God, the Almighty, when he in the Torah he told us that there's a process of getting a divorce which is called a get.
That's crazy stupid what he just said. He said that when there is a divorce among non-Jews, they cannot use the get as bargaining chip. So he's implying many things. He's implying, first of all, that all non-Jews can get a divorce, and that is false. Because in the Roman Catholic Church, there is no divorce allowed. So they can't get a divorce ever, even if, even in the cases that in the Jewish law, the man has to give a gate, and we can't force him. Even in these cases, in the Roman Catholic Church, they cannot receive a divorce. So why should we compare us to them? And the second assumption he makes is that it's a bad thing to use the get as a bargaining chip, and the truth is it is not meant to be used as a bargaining chip, but as an assurance for to keep the couple together, to prevent the woman from leaving the family, from leaving the couple. And that's a right that the Torah and the Talmud and the Poskim gave to the husband. And if she wants to leave, God gave into the hands of the husband the terms of the separation, and he can impose his terms, and that's rightfully so. There is no problem in halacha with this. So I don't know how he became Dayan.
That it was instituted as a bargaining chip. You want to get divorced? Get divorced.
But it's absolutely the reason was why men don't want to give the get, because they don't want to get divorced. What are you talking about?
It should have nothing to do with the get. In that respect,
It has everything to do with the get. What is this man talking about?
pretend you're not Jewish. Don't use the get as a bargaining chip.
But the get is the protection for the couple to stay together. God said when a man marries a woman, he has to take upon him a lot of responsibilities towards her, and he signs a ketubah, and he has a lot of duties towards his woman. And the counterpart, one of the counterparts, is she cannot ever leave him without his permission. So that's why he has the strength to take upon him all these duties. But this man is saying a man has to take upon him a lot of duties, more than a servant has to take for his master, and he receives nothing in counterparts. The woman can leave the marriage anytime she wants. That's craziness, and that's not Jewish.
In actual fact, when I'm representing a man and he tells me, I think I'll just hold back on the get. So I tell him I'm not a gun for hire. And if that's going to be your attitude, find yourself another Toen. Because we need to remove this whole notion that I can use a get as somehow as leverage to help me, get ahead and, get what I want. It's a terrible situation.
So what he's saying now is that when a man hires him as a Toen Rabani to help him express himself in halachic terms before the Dayanim, and he is using his influence to make him lose any leverage he has to get what he wants, that in general nowadays is just to get what belongs to him. So he's working against his clients. So he has to pay them back. I don't even understand why he's working for men anymore. He has no reason to work for men if that's what he's doing.
Situation.
But yet it goes on.
And moreover, he has to. It tells us that without taking into consideration and telling us the details why the man doesn't want to give the get, because there can be a lot of reasons, and they are not all the same. But I will tell you that nowadays, uh, 95 to 99% of the times, the man doesn't want to give the get because he was already stolen in the civil courts from his children, from his wage, his salary, his house, and everything he has. So that's a very good reason to not give the get. And even if in these circumstances that I just told, even if he wanted to give the get, a serious bet din couldn't agree to that until she gives back what she has already received from the secular courts against the laws of the Torah.
So I know that you're trying to train women how to get a divorce and how not to be an aguna, be chained where they can't get married until they get a kosher divorce. But how do you change?
So an aguna is not chained, she's anchored. That's the real translation. And most of the women nowadays are not agunot. So he's joking on the words here.
Change the system because people not only are men in lots of cases holding back a get because they're holding out for money or problems with visitation with the children,
but you will see in the future in this interview that they have absolutely no problem if it is the woman that uses the secular courts to take the children, to take the money. Only when the man wants the same thing, then it's a problem. But the difference is that when the woman uses the courts, usually she's using the secular courts to get the part of the husband, his part of the money, and his time with the children. And when he is withholding the get, it's not to take what belongs to her, it's to receive back, it's to take back what belongs to him, his half time with the children, and his money and his part of the house. So they're making things upside down here. It's a craziness.
of rabbis that are helping them. So I know you said you won't take such a case, but there are plenty of rabbis who will.
So let me just go back a bit. As you said, I am from Australia, and you could tell that from my accent.
I thought it was a
So-
Brooklyn accent.
Yeah, yeah. What I found in all my years on the Melbourne Beth Din as a senior Dayan and then moving here, there were two distinct differences. And from a chronological perspective, I'll start with the second one first. And that is, if somebody would come to our Bezdin in Melbourne and say, look, I want to get divorced, and we would find out and question and ask that there is legitimate reason for the divorce. So obviously, as all Bati Din around the world, we would send a summons, a hazmana of 1, 2, 3. But if we saw we were getting no results, we would do whatever we could as a Bezdin, putting pressure on the community to ensure that the get would be given.
So you see, the psak, the halachic decision, the decision of the rabbinic tribunal is already given even before you open a file in the Beis Din. It's already I don't know how to say this word. It's already decided that you will have to give the gets. They will not open the books to see if you have to give the get, if you don't have to give the get, if they can tell you to give the get, if they can tell you that you have an obligation to give the get, if they can force you, they will not open the books. It's already decided. All the cases, in every case, the man has to give the get, and they will do everything for that. So I don't know. He received his diploma of Dayan in a surprise box. So every woman that has received of these 600 cases that came before him, that has received a get from his Beit Din, has to separate from her second husband if there is one, and get another get from a kosher Beit Din. And she has to, if she has children, she has to ask her previous husband if he wanted to give the get willingly. It's a very crazy problem, and it's a serious problem. And if people are disappointed by what I'm saying, if this makes them angry, they can choose another religion, because what I'm saying is the Torah. And I know people are gonna say, "Oh, but who is this guy that is making videos on YouTube?" And we have here respected Dayan that is well spoken, and he has a long beard and a very nice vest. Of course, he knows what he's doing. No, there are a lot of people nowadays, and even very well-known so-called rabbonim, that people give them a lot of honor. That a lot of people that people think they are great tzaddikim, righteous people, they are not, and they are doing a lot of kilkul, a lot of destruction upon the people of Israel. So you have to be careful, you have to know halacha, and if somebody doesn't know halacha on this matter, on this topic, he can learn from the responsa, the tshuvot, what has written the Rav Gestetner from Monsey, New York. He is the world authority on this topic. So learn from him and not from others. He knows what he's talking about. He has a complete knowledge on the topic. When I've seen that a lot of Dayanim, they don't know what they're talking about. They are they have learned some books, and they did not do shimush. They did not learn from an active Dayan that was a real Dayan and knew what he was doing. So they don't know how to be a Dayan, and they accomplish what is written at the end of Masechet Sotah, Beit Avar Yeh Liznut. That's what is written at the end of the Tractate Sotah. One of the things, it's that at the end of times, before the Mashiach comes, the Bate Dinim, that is the plural of Beis Din, will be for debauchery, which means for adultery, which means they will permit a married woman to go with another man, and that's exactly what they're doing. So be careful.
We didn't just sit back and do nothing. Now, the reason for that is because we were employed, so to speak, by the community. We were answerable to the community, and the community was answerable to us in terms of the shuls, the synagogues. But when I came to America, each Beth Din is independent, and they're not paid a salary. And as a result, they'll do the right thing. They'll send out 3 hazmanas. You don't come, okay, they'll put out a siruv, some form of excommunication. They'll give you permission to go to court. But more often than not, that's not going to alleviate the situation. The other thing which I found, alleviation, they'll give you permission to go to court.
They'll give you permission to go to courts. That's the thing you can't do for the divorces, for the Gittin. You can't allow people to go to court. That's a serious interdiction in the Torah. I don't know what Beit Din he's talking about. No real Beit Din would allow such a thing. They can allow that for the matters of money, and people have disagreements regarding money. If one disagrees to come to the Beit Din, and the other one goes to the Beit Din, and 3 times the other refuses, the Beit Din can allow the first person to go to secular courts to be able to have a judgment, to get back what is his, what he claims to be his. But for Gittin, it is impossible, and even for the children, it's a very complicated matter. You can't tell people to go to secular courts. It's impossible, and people who do that, they should be excommunicated, and it should be written in every wall that they are not fit to be Dayan.
But more often than not, that's not going to alleviate the situation. The other thing which I found contrasting to Australia to here was if a woman wanted to get divorced, so she wouldn't want to speak to a local rabbi. I'd imagine the same thing is here because she's embarrassed. She doesn't want people to know. She's had no experience, unlike a man who's learned Masechta Gittin. Usually, women, Beis Yaakov, Beis Rivka graduates don't learn the laws of Gittin, and they really have no idea what to do.
The men neither. They have no idea what to do in the circumstances. Halacha lema'aseh, in reality, they have learned some books, but they don't know what's happening and what's going to happen and what to do and what to say. And the women nowadays, there are a lot of people talking about these topics and these subjects to women, and the internet is full of that. And between friends, they talk a lot about these things because now all of the women have divorced friends, so they know very well what they are talking about, and I think better than men. So it's a blatant lie.
At best, they'll speak to a friend who perhaps is divorced. Now, they may mean well, but more often than not, they'll give information which is not applicable. And the opportunity then is only to turn to a Toen who'll charge them $300-400 for a session. So together with the Vad Linyone Igun, Kayla Haber-Goldstein, what we put together was I did a series of classes to empower women, to give them at least the basic tools necessary to know what they're getting into.
Why didn't he give courses to empower all the Jews, everybody, not only the women, even the men, people that need the help, empower them. Why do only women need help? Can't women sometimes be the perpetrator and the bad people, and the man be helpless? Isn't that impossible? Is that impossible? It's possible, and it happens a lot of time. He should want to empower the powerless and not only women. That's craziness. Because if the woman is the person doing the bad things, so why would you want to empower her?
5 classes which start off, you want to get a get, now what? To the last class, which is my husband refuses to give me a get, what do I do now? And then together with my daughter, we decided, why do we have to have, ongoing classes? Let's put together what's called the master class, where people can listen to it at their own speed, hear it more than once. We're also having set up like a community where people can interact and people can ask me questions. And the idea was to empower women, to give them the tools necessary, at least to begin
What kind
the
of tools
journey.
can you give them? Because at the end of the day, if the husband doesn't want to give a get, they have little recourse unless they turn to people like Flatbush Girl or others that to force them, right, to get a get.
Okay.
But what
Well,
recourse do they have? What do you advise them?
Okay. So I can only speak for myself. Baruch Hashem, because of perhaps my experience back in Melbourne, Australia, I view my role as a Toen not just to represent a person, the man or the lady, in the Beis Din, and also not just to mediate, but to do whatever I can behind the scenes to help facilitate a get. Baruch Hashem, I have 100%.
He should want to help the halacha, the Torah, and to help people receive what belongs to them according to the Torah, not to help one side. Because when he is saying, I want to help women, I want to help the Gett, I want to empower women, he's talking even before the file is opened, before there is a divorce case. He wants to empower the woman to be able to receive the divorce. That's craziness, because you can't judge a case like any other. That's one of the rules of the Shulchan Aruch in the beginning of Ilchot Dayanim, the laws of the judgment of the rabbinic authorities. They when they have to judge on a new case, they have to take away all the preconceptions about anything. They can't compare to any case they have seen before. It has to be treated as a completely new case, and they have to see what has to be done in this case. Has a get to be given or not? Why is his presumption that anytime a woman wants a get, we should give it to her? If that was what God wanted, he would not have given the get in the hands of the husband. He would have said, if she wants to get away, she can get away. And that's exactly what the marriage, what the nisuin are for. To stuck her with her husband, that she cannot leave. If she wants to leave, she could have been a concubine. A concubine can leave anytime. Okay, there is a machlokes, a discussion between the halachic, between the poskim, between the people who make the law in the Jewish law. There is a discussion if the concubine is allowed or not allowed, but there are a lot of poskim who think that the concubine is allowed. Anyway, even if you think like the Rambam that it is not allowed, anyway, they will just be passing aside the commandment to do the kiddushin, to do the marriage. So they will not be doing a negative commandment. They will not be passing over a negative commandment. So it would be preferable. She wants to be a concubine, let her be a concubine, and then she can leave any time. But don't give the man all the duties and all the expectations of a husband, and you don't give him the rights of a husband. That's craziness.
Track record. I even had a case in Melbourne of a woman, 18 years. She finally came to the Beis after 16 years, and I tracked down her husband. He was actually in prison.
The time has nothing to do with this. Tell us the halachic case, and we will judge by ourselves. We will open the books, and we will see if he has to give a get or not. And the chances are, if he's in prison, that it is because she went to the secular courts, and therefore he has no obligation whatsoever anytime to give her a get.
Somewhere in the world, and I got him to give a get. I mean, I'll just give you one.
So he got somebody who was imprisoned, likely because of the woman who went to the secular courts, to give a get. So the get is whether a get betaut or a get meuseh, which both are pasul, null and void, according to the Torah. And so he just permitted a married woman to go do adultery and have mamzerim, have bastards. So that's a great achievement. Congratulations.
Look, my approach is the reason why the man doesn't want to give the get is control. He's a narcissist. This is his last chance. But there's always something that...
Incredible. Any man who doesn't want to give the get is because he's controlling. So if the woman goes to secular court and takes the children, so according to the Torah, that's napping the kids, okay? Because there are words that we can't say on this platform. According to the Torah, that is called napping the kids, okay? And she also went to secular courts. That's the greatest avera of the Torah. It's the greatest sin. Okay, there is only a time that I know that the Shulchan Aruch says that somebody hasn't lost his part in the world to come, and it's when somebody who goes to secular courts. That's the greatest sin. So she goes to secular courts, and she is not judged for that. But according to halacha, somebody who went to secular courts and acquired some rights from the secular courts against the Torah, the Beit Din cannot start to judge his case or her case before this person gives back everything he has acquired in secular courts in contradiction with the laws of the Torah. So that's craziness. So he's taken, his kids are taken from him. He has to pay alimony, child support, all these things. He's losing likely his house or half of the house, or he doesn't live in the house because now it's given for the woman to live there with the children. And the only reason he doesn't give the get is because he's controlling, is because he's a control freak, and all this craziness. So this guy is clearly not fit to be a Dayan, and he should be excommunicated because he is giving Gittin Psulin, and that's a great sin. He's multiplying the bastards in Israel.
To him is more valuable than refraining from giving his wife a get. Now, I could give you more stories from today till tomorrow.
What's more valuable? It could be money. Maybe he's holding out for money, or maybe he's holding out to flip the coin. Maybe he's holding out because the wife won't give him visitation rights.
Okay, all right. So let's just.
So that's a good reason. If he's holding out because his wife doesn't give him visitation rights, that's a good reason. That's the best reason that we can find. He wants to be a father for his children. We're always talking about deadbeat dad, but when the dad wants to be a good dad, then he's controlling and all this craziness.
I'll give you one example. I had a case in Melbourne. Irreligious fellow would refuse to give his wife a get. And I was nice for a few weeks, but wasn't getting anywhere. He was he worked for a company, and most of the business that the company did was with the Jewish community. So I rang up his boss and I said to him, look, this is Rabbi Barber from the Melbourne Beth Din. I just want you to know that one of the people who works for you, one of your reps, is refusing to give his wife a get. Now, I don't think the Jewish community will take to it and be appreciative of the fact that he's refusing to give her a get. And I won't be held responsible if that impacts your business. The next day, he rang me and he said, Rabbi Barber, let's get this get over and done with. So there is always something that on that level that can be done. But I also say, if I'm representing a woman, I say to her, if you're going to tell...
So this guy is not only threatening the husband to give the gets, he's also threatening his employer to affect his business. That's craziness. What has this guy done? Nothing. His work, no connection whatsoever. He's not part of the Jewish community. I think this is the control freak. This is the controlling person. The person you see on your screen.
Tell me that your husband molested the children. And if it's true, and we can prove it, that your husband molested the children, and if it's true, and we can prove it, I'll back you up. But if you're going to use it as a vehicle and a means to cause pain and anguish, it's just not going to work. I say to both couples, in a perfect world, God created a world where a child has a mother and a father living under the same roof.
So kudos to him for this one, that he's telling to the woman that if they are trying to say that the dad is deadbeat, he's beating the children and she's lying, that it's not a good thing to do. That's good on his part. But even if there are hits that are given, well, we have to ask how, what kind of beating, because there is some part of these things that are allowed according to halacha, even mitzvah, for education purposes. So we can't say because the dad did these things and we don't know how, what, in which circumstances, we can't judge. That's why we go to a Beit Din. The Beit Din asks a lot of questions to know exactly what is the halachic case and how to judge in that case.
There are times, unfortunately, that it's for the well-being of the children that they don't live under the same roof. But it will impact the children, the divorce. The extent that it impacts them is very much dependent on how the parents will interact with each other. And they're going to
When most of the time, what impacts the children the most is that they're taken away from their father. That's what is most impacting to them, because everybody has received from his father what we can say on this platform.
interact with each other till the children forever. Because if they've had a child together, they've got to raise the child somewhat together. They'll participate in the simchas, the grandchildren. It's something that they need to bear in mind. And it's, just on another note, where I feel work can be done, one of the great rabbis in Melbourne, his name was Rabbi Chaim Gutnick. And I'll never
Well, if he is a great rabbi, I don't know if his friends are great rabbis, but I can't say.
forget, was at a rabbi's meeting, and he said, got extremely emotional. He said, do you imagine the Chaim Oizer, the Chafetz Chaim, the Noda B'Yehuda, the Chassam Sofer, and he kept on listing names at Tzemach Tzedek. You think they didn't care about the plight of the Aguna? You think they didn't have sleepless nights? This notion of where there's a rabbinic will, there's a rabbinic way, that isn't true. What I think needs to happen is, and it's very challenging in a place like New York, it's where the community needs to come together.
So, what this rabbi was saying, I think he misunderstood what his colleague, what his friend, the other rabbi, was telling him. He told him, don't you think all the Gdolim, the great rabbis of the Jewish people throughout the ages, didn't take into consideration to do what they could and write what they could in halacha to help the agunot, the anchored women? Of course they did. And he was talking about the women who don't have their husband. They don't know what happened to him. He was not talking about the women that are wanting another husband or money or to take away the children from the father, or even just to divorce, to go live a life alone. He was not talking about these women. He was talking about the women that lost their husbands overseas or in wars, and he was telling him if there was something to do for these women, it would be written in halacha, and it is not, because there is nothing to do most of the cases, and these women are not agunot.
I had a case just last week. Somebody rang me and they said, look, we've got this guy who just started coming to our shiur. What's his story? And I said, he's a Gett refuser. You tell the person giving the shiur to throw him out. He's not.
Why? What's the problem with refusing a get? It's a right of the Torah. There is no problem with that. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's Toeh Bidvar Mishnah. He doesn't even know he's wrong on something that is nifsak, that has been decided. The law has been decided in the Mishnah, and a Dayan that is wrong on that kind of thing, all his psak is null and void. So he doesn't know what he's doing. He must have read a lot of books, but he doesn't understand them. He doesn't understand what the book is saying. He doesn't know how to interpret the words that he's reading. He doesn't know what he's doing at all.
Not allowed to come to the shiur. There needs to be more of a grassroots effort in terms of the community. This aguna.
It's easier for you in Melbourne.
And she's not an aguna. If you can excommunicate the husband, and you can, and you know in which synagogue he's going, she's not an aguna. She's just a woman who wants to get rid of her husband. No, that's not an aguna. He is even lying, because this man, okay, with all the bad that I can say about him, that he's a fake Dayan, but he knows the books. He knows what is an aguna according to halacha, and he knows that this woman is not an aguna. And he's telling you, and he's telling all the audience of Zev Brenner, that this woman is an aguna, and this is lying. He's lying to the community about halacha, about the laws of the Torah, about what God expects from us in the most serious matters in the world. That in the Gemara, Resh Lakish says that someone who doesn't know the causes and consequences of the marriage and of divorce and marriage shouldn't have anything to do with it. So this guy is making the greatest sins on earth, and he's lying to all the community.
To do it because you have a more cohesive community in New York,
Correct.
in America. You have
Correct.
community upon community, so you can't get everybody to come on board. So those tactics may work well in a smaller community, won't work in New York to the same extent.
Unless we get people on board and people are willing to participate. And so
So we go back to what he said before, that the men are controlling, and now he wants to control the community, to make the community put pressure on the man. He doesn't even ask himself the question if it's a problem according to halacha, if the Gett will be pasul or not. He doesn't care. He wants all the women who want to change their husband or to get rid of their husband, and he doesn't care if the woman is taking, if the wife is if the woman is taking the children, if she's taking alimony, child support, if she's going to secular court. He doesn't care about anything. He cares about only one thing, that any woman should be able to leave the marriages, and he won't leave any daughter of Avraham Avinu living in the same house of her husband.
it's really going to be a team effort. It's going to be team effort
He wants to destroy all the families of Israel.
from the rabbis to do whatever we can to alleviate the situation in making it more accessible for women, helping them through the process. And at the same time, when we need...
How about helping the husbands that their wife went to secular courts and they lost their children, they were taken away from them, and it is napping kid, and they were taken away their salary and all their money and all their pension and half of the house and the car, and they can't leave, and they can't remarry, because you can say that according to halacha he has no problem to remarry. You can say that, even though it is completely wrong, because if he's a religious people, no woman will accept to remarry him without the get given, even though he has the right after 1 year of a rebellious wife to take another wife. But he will have difficulties to find a Beit Din that will apply the halacha on this, and no woman would accept to marry him without a get. And even though he has given the get, which is to say that it will be a pasul get, it will be a get null and void, he won't be able to remarry because of reasons of this world, that he has no money. He's completely destroyed internally and externally, because the separation from his children and his financial destruction won't enable him to find any woman. No woman wants to marry a man in that situation. No woman. It's in the nature of women that they want to marry a man that has a secured financial situation and doesn't have problem with another woman with the children. That is craziness.
Support from the community will come forward. I always say there's a great Dayan in Israel. He's now retired. His name is Rab Shlomo Duchovsky. Those in this part of this business know it. And he said something so powerful. He said to the Dayanim, imagine that the woman who needs a get is your daughter. And look at her as she is your daughter, and how would you act? And that's how I view it. Anytime somebody comes, a woman or a man, I view them, how would I act, or what would I want to happen if they were my child?
Well, I doubt very much that he's thinking that when a man comes to him. I doubt very much that he's thinking, how would I act if it was my son? Because it's craziness. If you are that cruel to your own son, then you're not a man. You're not a human.
And I think that's crucial.
Rabbi Yaacov Barber is our guest. He's a rabbi, Dayan, Toen, mediator, motivational speaker, originally from Australia. And
okay, we'll stop at this point for this time, and see you next time. And leave your comments.